Learn how to build a better sign and print shop from a few crusty sign guys who've made more mistakes than they care to admit. Conversations and advice on pricing, sales, marketing, workflow, growth, and more. You're listening to the Better Sign Shop Podcast with your hosts, Peter Kourounis, Mike O'Reilly, and Bryant Gillespie.
Before we jump into the episode, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor, GCI Digital Imaging, grand format printer to the trade. We talk a lot about outsourcing on the podcast and the importance of having good partners. And GCI Digital Imaging is a good partner to have. Owner TJ Bedacht and his team focus on providing killer customer service just the way grandmother used to make it. If you're interested in learning their approach to business, hop back into the archives to episode 9, where the guys and I interview TJ about customer experience. So if you're looking for a high quality trade printer for banners, wraps, and other printed graphics that your customers throw at you, check out GCI Digital Imaging at printgci.com. All right, guys, welcome to the next edition of the Better Sign Shop podcast. As always, I've got my colleagues, Peter. He's not here today. We've got the man himself, the sign design samurai, the sign chimichanga, Mike Riley.
Happy New Year.
I feel like we've got the new year, new nickname thing kind of on the horizon here.
So I was hoping we'd leave the nickname in 2022, but I see it's
Was there
the end of the new year.
Was there one that you really liked that we could stick with, or
There was
I feel
not.
like this. I feel like the search continues. Like
The search continues.
I saw somebody post on our YouTube channel the other day, like on the very first or second episode, they were like, "Oh, hey, I really like Sign Shop Spock," and I don't know if we need to revisit that one or not. Yeah, maybe when we get some more guests, we can. I think we need to write that into the guide for our guests. Like, come prepared with 5 nickname ideas for Mike.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I think that needs to be like a regular segment on the podcast. It's like a rapid fire, give Mike a nickname.
Yeah, like I'm open to getting roasted as well. I know that came up a couple calls ago. If you want to take some heat off yourself there.
Yeah, you do need a nickname too. I think you've kind of dodged that bullet. I'm not sure how that happened. I guess being the host, you can steer the conversation wherever you want, can't you?
Yeah. When it's your name on the dotted line, I guess you just kind of skate that. I don't know.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. So what's new with you in the new year, my man?
Oh, just trying to survive. Had a great holiday and a nice new year, and made a bunch of New Year's resolutions I've already broken, like everybody has, I'm sure. What are we, 2 weeks into the new year here, and not one is still standing on 2 legs. So
do you care to
awesome.
share one? Like, what was?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I was definitely going to eat healthier this year. That was the plan. But I had
What
an extra
happened there?
pizza from Taco Bell last night at 1 a.m. For like the 5th time this year. So, and we're only 12 days into the year.
I mean, if we were gonna stick with one nickname, like the burrito chimichanga, like the sign shop Mexican food king, I don't know.
How do you combine Mike's 2 loves of Taco Bell and signage?
Signage. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a sign coordinator position at like Taco Bell corporate. Yeah, I don't know.
There you go. God, that'd be my dream job. Designing Taco Bell signs. Holy shit.
There you go.
Man, my head would explode.
Taco Bell. When you do the next store rebrand, call this guy.
Hit me up.
He does sign design for a living. Yeah. So what were the other ones?
And I'll work for burritos. Gosh, let's see. Well, I wanted to get in better shape. I said I was going to start going for a walk every day after dinner, but when you eat a Mexican pizza at 1 a.m., it's hard to go for a walk after that. So that resolution has just kind of like also fallen by the wayside. Those were the major ones, but I think those are probably everybody's, and everybody can relate to that a little bit. I've got a few business related ones, trying to put a little more focus and effort into some marketing this year and social media. Need to bring on an assistant to help me with some office tasks. So those are some resolutions I haven't even had a chance yet to like completely screw up and fall off the horse on, but one of these days I will.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting. Like you serve sign shops with your design work, but on the market, like we've talked about the importance of marketing, yet you basically do no marketing for your sign design business.
it's true. I am definitely a not a practitioner of what I preach, I guess. Yeah, I do a little bit of marketing, and I did put a little bit of effort into SEO in my website early last year, which definitely paid off. I mean, I, I'm in such a weird niche market. I mean, there's not a large pool of potential clients out there for me anyway. There's only a handful of people that will, really need my services around the country. So it's not like I'm getting, 50 inquiries a day off of my website, but I do get a decent amount of business off of it from that. And I'm ranked generally number one or fairly high up in Google results when you search for terms surrounding what I do. So I guess that counts as marketing, right? And, I occasionally throw a post up on my Facebook page for the business, but I think the last one I did was like in August or something. So I need to, we've been so busy that it's so, and I think that's probably something that every small business owner, it's a trap that we all fall into. Like you get so busy. Hell, we've talked about this on the marketing podcast episode we did. Like it's just so easy to put that marketing stuff on the back burner because I'm busy right now. I don't really need any more clients. Therefore, I'm not really going to dedicate any brain power to it. And that's where my New Year's resolution comes in, because obviously, if you only market when you're slow and you need the work, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And I guess I've turned off the faucet. I think that was the term that Peter used on the episode is don't turn off the faucet.
Don't turn off the faucet.
Yeah. So that's one of my big things this year.
I'm sure all of our listeners can relate to that. Like I think almost every shop owner that we've ever talked to, like marketing, you say marketing and they're like, like, oh, are we doing marketing? Like, yeah, beyond the basics of having like a decent website, I feel like there's a lot of shops out there that aren't doing any marketing at all. So if that's on your resolution list for your business, don't let that slip. What we would both suggest, I'm going to speak for both of us here, is you're probably not going to have the time to do it. Find somebody who could do it for you. Outsource it, whether that's an agency or just an individual freelancer. Now's a good time to start that, and start as small as you need to. That's the other big thing. You don't have to jump into like a $5,000 retainer to have somebody do your marketing monthly. Just start with one small piece, maybe a couple $100.
Yeah, right. Or hire somebody to do your social media for you or something. I mentioned this in the marketing podcast episode, but at my shop, when I actually still owned a sign company and not just a designer, same boat. Like it was so hard to ever do any marketing in house, and it's hard, I think, for sign shop owners to accept and admit to themselves that we're not actually marketers. We're, making signs is not the same thing as marketing. So it's kind of one of those things where we feel compelled to try and do in-house ourselves because we think we should be able to do it. But the reality is it's probably not our strong suit, and hiring a professional to do that is usually going to pay off in the long run. We hired an outside marketing agency to handle a lot of our marketing efforts, and man, was that ever a great investment. I mean, it really, really paid off big time for doing that. So I always recommend everybody just don't even try to do it in-house. Get it off of your plate. Hire somebody you trust and that you can afford, and empower them to, kind of take your brand and run with it. It'll come back to you for sure. I say that as I don't do that myself anymore.
Well, you're going to fix that, right?
Totally. So what about you? How are you starting out the new year?
I was waiting for that one, man. All right, so I'm going to date myself a little bit, but 6 or 8, 10 years ago, before my wife and I got together, I was really heavy into powerlifting. I have since, in the last 2 weeks, thanks to some encouragement from my brother-in-law, tried to get back into this. So it's been an interesting adventure, to say the least. Like before I quit, I was I don't know the exact numbers, and I'll just throw some out there. I'm sure there's people that if you do lift in the audience, don't take me at face value here, because my memory from 7, 8, 10 years ago is very fuzzy. But I think if my records, like personal records at the time, were like maybe like 385 on the squat and like 435 on the deadlift. So not super heavy, nothing to be ashamed about though. But I started back. I'm like 2 weeks in at this point, and my head still is back in that place. But as you've experienced, like 10 years on, your body is not with you anymore. So I've been extremely sore, but also just like extremely frustrated mentally with just where I'm at, because there's kids that weigh, I don't know, probably 50 pounds less than me that are throwing up like 50, 100 pounds more than me when I look across the gym at this point.
And that's how Brian got hurt.
Yeah. The next episode, I will be wearing like a sling or a cast or something.
A back brace or something. Yeah. No, that's welcome to, I guess we'll call it middle age. I'm not going to call you an old man yet because you haven't crossed the 40 threshold like me. But yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
hard. I used to, I mean, I know exactly how it is. I used to exercise and lift, and I was big into CrossFit for years because I got really gung ho when I was right around 30 and decided I'm going to join a rugby team or rugby league, and I got in pretty good shape. I was in pretty good shape. I wasn't quite throwing up the numbers that you were. I wasn't really quite just heavy powerlifting as much as more like training. But then I actually like went to a rugby game and was so scared. Like what?
Yeah. Hey, that's definitely one of those before kids things.
Yeah. Like 10 minutes into the game, like several people had lost teeth and there, blood everywhere. Like it was, I was shocked at how like I knew it was a violent, rough sport, but wow, yeah. So that's kind of when I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, and I slowed down on the exercising and working out a little bit, and yeah, and then actually just over between Christmas and New Year's, then I decided to carry a toilet up my stairs to my upstairs bathroom because I'm putting a new toilet in, and I, I had to I had to stop for the rest of the day. Like I just lifting that toilet and carrying upstairs nearly killed me. And I was like, I was done. That was it. So yeah, getting old and lifting heavy things, they don't really go hand in hand, and it sneaks up on you. So don't overdo it.
Yeah, that's the
Pace yourself.
biggest thing. Just like we talked about just like on marketing just a minute ago. You got to start small, start slow. So hey, I'm trying to be mindful of that. Definitely, my wife is helpful as well. She's very good at nagging me into going to the gym, so that's been helpful. I've got like my brother-in-law hooked me up with this 4-day-a-week program for the next 6 weeks. I'll just give a shout out to those guys. He's if you like heavy metal and you like lifting weights, look at deathcomeslifting.com. It's kind of their brand. He's one of the signature athletes or sponsored athletes, I guess you could say. He just did a meet back in December where he set like some state records as an amputee against non-amputees.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pulling this up right
definitely.
now. Pretty.
Yeah, I think their tagline is "Fitness for the Misfits" or something like that. I think so. Cool company, cool dude.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
His name on there is Frankenjan. Clearly, they've got some good nicknames going on. Maybe we could take a page out of their book.
Yeah, we need to study their approach there. Well, that's awesome. Good luck. I hope that you don't hurt yourself, and B, get back into the groove and see some gains there. I remember like I've my whole life I've started and stopped going to the gym. I've been a perpetual gym starter my entire adult life, and man, like the first 2 weeks after you're back to the gym, and you're especially like the day or two after like a heavy squat day, standing up off the toilet in the morning, it's like the worst.
Yeah. So I'll say one more thing, and then we'll get into like the actual topic today. But like before, probably like 4 or 6 weeks ago, before I started getting into this, I went to the gym with my brother-in-law, and we've always been very competitive with each other in the past, but like the friendly competitive spirit. So I got in the gym, I'm watching him lift, and I was like, okay, like, hey, I'm gonna squat with you, and I did the best I could, and it definitely overdid and I could not walk for like 3 freaking days. Like, could not get up and down the stairs, like physically. And like, I was texting him, and he was just laughing at me the whole time, man. Like, hey, thanks for coming, thanks for playing.
Yeah, it's that. That's the worst. It's weird. It goes away pretty quickly, but like the first week or two is just, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's bad. I don't envy you. Well, good
So
luck.
I
I hope that it
got to
works out.
shake off the cobwebs. But so that leads us into the topic of today. I think I was working title for this one was like tech that saves you time. But one of the topics that I've seen come up again and again this time of year over the last 7, 10, 15 years that I've been in this industry is systems, processes. I think I want to touch a little on shop management software today, because we've got the shop management software series that should be coming out pretty soon. I don't know how you feel about that, Mike.
Let's do it. It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. Give us what's your shop management software origin story? Like, where did you guys start out with your old shop? And
Yeah,
this is like zooming back into the past here, but
this is flying way back into the past. Yeah. So for, like every sign shop, when you're smaller and you're starting out, everything's paper, everything's in your head, and you don't really have any good systems or processes. But as we grew, obviously, like everybody does, they figured out we needed something better than paperwork orders, dry erase marker board, right? Systems like that are that manual. It's a recipe for losing track of things. Things are going to fall through the cracks. I mean, it's just, and it's not really anybody's fault. You can't blame any one particular human on that. It's just the nature of the business. When you're busy and you're chasing paper, you're going to lose stuff. So we, looked at everything under the sun, and around that time was right when Signbox first became available on the market, and demoed it with our buddy Kevin, and I thought it was amazing. It was like a game changer for us. Signbox was originally made for the Signarama franchise, and then eventually they made some tweaks to it and released it wide to any sign shop. And I was like customer number like 2 or 3 on Signbox when it came out. I mean, this was a long time ago, and it was it was something for sure when it came out. I mean, it's evolved quite a bit from what it was.
Kevin basically shysted both of us then at that point.
I know.
Because I was like customer number 4 or 5 on Shopbox.
Yeah, and I found Kevin on a post on Signs 101 about it, actually, too. I don't know if that's how you discovered him or not, but
yeah, 100%.
It all goes back to Signs 101. Yeah, so we were with Sidebox for a long time, and it was definitely an amazing program. When I sold the business, we were still using Signbox. Shopbox wasn't a thing yet. It was still Signbox. They hadn't evolved it over into Shopbox yet, so that's what we used, and it was great. I mean, any program like that. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. All of these programs have strengths and weaknesses, but having something moving into any sort of system like that is better than not. It's something that I recommend every shop do. And if you're a one-man operation, like, get something, because it's going to change your life for the better. It's a guarantee.
I totally agree with you. I think if Peter were here, he would say the same thing, that in this day and age, especially with the current economic climate, where everybody's kind of uncertain what's going to happen, it could certainly seem like a big expense of a big investment. We'll say, I won't say an expense, because it's definitely in the investment column, and some of them are fairly cheap that are out there. You could go with a non-industry specific software that will be even cheaper, and you try to tie stuff together. But most of the investment is on the time side of things there, but it is 100% probably one of the smartest investments you'll make in your business.
And that's a really important topic or point, I think, that needs to be beaten like a dead horse a little bit, as it is an investment. It's not an expense. And, you and I have been through, I'll say, the ringer with these programs. And we've talked to a lot of people who their mentality about it is an expense. That's why they see it. They see it as it's going to cost them money, and they drag their feet, and they, $3.99 a month or $500 a month or whatever the cost for whatever app you're looking at is. They just, they immediately shut down when they hear a price like that. Even a small one man shop. I mean, there's no denying that $500 a month for a one man operation, it's not inexpensive, right? But it only takes one lost order that you've got to eat per month to more than cover that. The efficiency that these programs create for your shop is definitely it's next level, and that's where you make that money up. That's where it becomes an investment. I mean, you're going to make that money back multiple times over every month, and just the amount of time that you save not tearing the office apart trying to find a work order that's slipped between two desks or something. I mean, it's absolutely an investment in time and efficiency that will pay back, many times over. I always cringe when anybody drags their feet on it based on price alone, and they say, that's just too much money for me to spend every month.
Oof.
You got to spend money to make money, guys.
We heard that argument a lot. Yeah. I heard you say spend money to make money. I hate that saying, but in this case, it's
true.
It's definitely true in this case.
I agree. I don't like it. Like, sometimes it needs to be said, though, and this is one of those cases where it's money well spent for sure.
Yeah. So the next thing that I want to say is, if you're in this mode right now, you're looking for shop management software. Like, the biggest thing that I could tell you is you're not going to find a perfect system. Mm-hmm. So at this point in my career, I can't tell you how many thousands of hours I've invested into this specific category of software, both in the shop previously. I've spent thousands and thousands of hours like scouring the internet before these things were a little more visible than they are now, doing demos with sales reps on everything from web to print to MIS. It's like the Wild Wild West kind of 10 years ago. Like, anybody was calling themselves anything, and you had to no screenshots on the website. You had to sit through demos and endure hour-long conversations with sales reps before you can even get a look at the product.
So it's exactly the same as it is today.
In some aspects, yeah. I've always hated that part of no screenshots, but to emphasize, there is no one perfect solution, and to invest too much time in this is not going to pay you back in returns. So
yeah,
do your due diligence. Definitely look at your available options out there. We're going to cover those in our shop management series. But once you get to pick one that's good enough and get going with it, and don't delay trying to wait for the perfect system or it having the perfect functionality. Figure out what it is your core set of things that you need for your shop are, and a lot of those should be shared across most of the audience. But figure out what those are, which solution best fits that, and go for it. Pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's another really good point. I mean, that's something that I think you and I have battled quite extensively in a former life. Is the argument? Well, this isn't exactly the way we do things. This isn't quite how I would do it. I mean, I've seen people cancel Shopbox because they don't like the format of the invoices, right? Like, everything else is great and it's making a huge improvement in their business, but this doesn't look the way I want it to look. Therefore, this isn't a good product. And we're talking about off the shelf canned programs that aren't custom built to your business. And there are no two sign shops. I can say this with 100% absolute certainty because I've been in hundreds of sign shops and worked with hundreds more owners in my life. There are no two sign shops on the planet that do things exactly the same way. There's a lot of similar overlap, and everybody's kind of working towards the same goal, but from a process standpoint, from an operation standpoint, every sign shop is going to operate a little bit differently. And when you're looking at off-the-shelf software that wasn't customized to your shop, you're going to have to make some concessions to it. You're going to have to bend the way you operate a little bit to make it drop and fit into that program. If you don't, you're going to have a hell of a time getting to work and implemented. Your employees are going to hate it. I mean, it requires flexibility, and it requires you being just a little bit on the realistic side and accepting that you may have to adjust, your procedures a little bit to fall more in line with the way whatever program you're looking at works. And if you do that, if you're willing to do that, you'll have a much easier time implementing it and it'll definitely work better for you than if you try to bend it to your will, which doesn't really work that well.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at it is like a marriage, right? Like,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
like you're shopping around, like you're going through this process, like the courtship, and then you decide, hey, here's our
Shopping
software.
around.
Just shopping around. Yeah,
We should put the address where people can send hate mail at the end of the year.
I'm gonna have to make sure Ashley doesn't listen to this one. Yeah, but yeah, basically, like you make that commitment, and like you can either you can fight your wife on everything in your marriage, or go with the flow, and definitely compromise. That's it. Secret to successful use of shop management and marriages everywhere.
It's a secret of life.
So I think let's take a step back and let's just kind of like, what are the options for a shop out there? Hey, we're dead focused on improving systems and processes. We've identified that we need a system in place to help us operate and keep things on track. What are the options for our shop operating system? Maybe that's what I'll retitle this one. Your shop operating system.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so
I like that name actually.
Yeah, I like that too. So we've got off the shelf industry specific software, right? We've got two, which would be stuff like Trello or Monday.com, Asana, Basecamp. How many of these would we ran into over the years? Thousands. Kind of your project management software, CRM software, and you try to bolt all these things together. Or you've got door number 3, the really fun and expensive door, building your own solution. Mm-hmm. Have I got all the bases covered there?
I think you've got all the bases covered. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Where do you think we should start?
Well, I mean, if you're moving to, if you're thinking about this topic in general and you think, okay, I need something, I would say chances are pretty good you're probably already using, or at least have tried, like some of the generic off the shelf, like you said, like Trello or Monday.com or one of those. I mean, I know a lot of shops have at least trialed those apps to see if they would work, and they've heard other shops are using Trello, so let's check it out and see. I'd say we start there because those are the easiest ones to pick on.
Yeah, and I'll be the fun fact guy. Like I think I put together like a sample Trello board once upon a time that people can download and copy. I'm not sure if that's still on the site somewhere, but somebody will Google it and find it. But yeah, that's where a lot of shops start out down this journey with Trello or something else. I know you're a huge Trello fan, so like, what's your take on this for like a sign shop?
Yeah, I love Trello. Well, I love Trello on one hand, right? Like it's very limiting in some areas, but what it does really well. I mean, if you've never seen Trello, it's just kind of a drag and drop card based system, and it's super easy to customize. You can put together your own job boards and kind of workflow for different types of work. I think Trello is fantastic. If you haven't looked at Trello in a few years, I recommend people take another look at it. In the last couple of years, they've made some really, really impressive improvements to it and functionality. It has a lot more automations built into it now. And if you gang Trello up with, a few other apps, using something like Zapier to string them all together, you can bang out a pretty functional little job management system. The bad thing about Trello, what I don't like about it, is everything's manual. There's no automations really for like moving a job from point A to point B, keeping things moving forward. So it's basically like, think of your old school paperwork order system where that paperwork order follows the job around the shop, and you've got to physically, hand it to the next person. Trello is very much just an electronic version of that. You got to manually move it to the next step. And so for a large, busy shop, I think that's where Trello, or really any of these off-the-shelf apps, are going to break down. Is just the fact that they lack some of that sign industry-specific automation that we require. But I think if anybody's looking for like a starter solution, and they don't want to spend a fortune, and they don't want to move to one of the big industry-specific programs, I always recommend people start with Trello. And I think you can make Trello work for at least a few years as you grow until it's ready to graduate to something bigger.
I support that 100%. I think hey, like you got to start somewhere, and there's a lot of things that you don't know at the beginning. And this was, I think, this was like the gospel when we were at the former software company. Like you got to start somewhere, and if you spend a ton of time like analyzing and putting together and researching and trying to create this perfect workflow that we've already told you does not exist, by the time you get done and you launch that thing, the market has shifted, your team has shifted, like the assumptions that you had at the very beginning, you find out were later wrong. So Trello is like a super low barrier to entry. The same with some of these other ones. Like we could substitute Trello for Monday.com or Asana or some of those other ones. Like they all have similar functionality. The biggest piece that I think they're missing is probably like the database of like, hey, here's all of our customers, here's all of our contacts. How do all these things relate? And that's the advantage that you get with some of the other systems.
Right.
But are there any other pros, cons you can think of for like Trello or these off the shelf generic tools?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of cons to them, and that's mostly just because they are generic and off the shelf, and so they require you as the user to essentially to build the tool yourself, right? I mean, you sign into Trello, it's not going to be set up for you, or Airtable or anything like that. Like none of these apps are going to be ready to go for any sign
Yeah, I
company.
forgot Airtable as well.
Yeah, I love Airtable too. I'm surprised you forgot about Airtable. You're like an Airtable guru. Yeah,
true.
Airtable. Yeah, if you've never seen Airtable, I recommend looking at it because it kind of like combines.
It does give you the database.
Yeah, it's a database. You get sort of like an Excel style database, but you also get a drag and drop card view, just like Trello has. So Airtable's got a lot of advantages. And honestly, if I were to like, Trello is like at the very bottom as far as like basic functionality goes, right? And it's really cool. And what it does better than anything on the market for sure. But it's very, very basic and simple. Where, and like you said, there's no database attached to it, so there's no list of your customers or any of that stuff. I think if you wanted to step up in functionality, yeah, Airtable's like probably where I would go. And
I agree with that. I totally forgot about Airtable. I've been neck deep in something else here lately, but yeah, I've made thousands of dollars doing Airtable and Zapier, Trello, Pipedrive consulting. So yeah, Airtable is a great solution. It's basically a build your own app. So if you are the tinkerer type, it's perfect for you. If you're a small shop and you've got opinionated ideas on how you want to run things, Airtable is nice because it does let you build it your way. Obviously, you want to start with like a good foundation there. And again, I think I might have even built like a sample or something to share maybe within our community. I'll see if I can dig that up and include it in the show notes, just like a starter template for Airtable to get you some kind of base functionality out of it.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I feel like Airtable's overlooked by a lot of people. And I'm not sure why that is, but really, you can really build a pretty powerful little app in Airtable, and it drops into the sign industry fairly well. I mean, a lot of the way Airtable operates is kind of in line with the way a sign company would operate. So you can really make it flow pretty well for an average sign shop.
I think their Trojan horse is like the spreadsheet view. It's like it looks exactly like Excel, but it's a full-fledged database. So it enforces like, hey, if this is a number field, you got to stick a number in there and it won't let you do anything else. Or if this is like a customer name, like you got to pick from the existing customer list type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other nice thing, they do have an API as well, which makes it easy if you're trying to create some custom wild stuff, as I've done for clients in the past, which is both interesting and also comes with its own drawbacks, but it does have that API available.
Yeah, you put one together for me that was a little above my pay grade as far as integrations go. I remember that, and I had a kind of a job board sort of list of all the database of all my customers and then all my active jobs. And then when I was done with the job, you set up an integration where I could click a button and it would automatically send all the data over to QuickBooks and create an invoice for me automatically over there, which was awesome because it saved a huge amount of time. Because obviously in Airtable, there's no accounting or anything built into it. So having to manually like copy and paste or transcribe that job information over into an invoice in QuickBooks is tedious for me because I in a month could do 100 jobs, and that's they're all small jobs that it's a lot of copying pasting into QuickBooks, where otherwise I can just hit this button and it just shoots it right over and and I'm done. Saved me an insane amount of time. I stopped using it.
Yeah. Greener pastures. Greener
Yeah.
pastures. All right.
Yeah, but it was great. I loved it. It was fantastic until I found this other app that I'm using that is actually purpose built for what I do. But yeah, I mean, it was. There's so much you can do in Airtable, and I think you and I just scratched the surface with what you did for me. But and it does have a powerful API that really allows you to like I said, string multiple apps together to really build a pretty functional, all inclusive tool. So yeah, I'd say Trello and then Airtable.
And then the next leap. Hey, let's do these in order of like investment, I guess. So let's move to industry specific off the shelf software. I want to save like custom for the end because I think that conversation is going to be pretty short.
Custom's expensive, and you're going to end up with a carbon copy of what's already on the market. We've seen it happen.
All right. So industry specific software. If we go sign industry focused, we've got Shopbox, you've got CoreBridge,
Sirius, Sign Tracker,
Square Coil, which used to be called vSign.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So Square Coil, CoreBridge, Sirius, Shopbox, Sign Tracker, Estimate. What are we missing?
I don't know. Hey, like half of those haven't been updated in the last 5 years, I would argue. But
yeah.
Estimate specifically. Like you and I both love that program, as ancient as it is.
I think Estimate's an awesome program for what it is. It's fairly affordable. It's not very expensive. It takes a little bit of time to set up, but it's not very complex to set up. Estimate lacks any real like job management, job tracking functionality. It's really more for pricing. It's more of a pricing, calculator type program, but and it is dated. Like, and I don't mean this offensively to the folks at Estimate. I hope they're not listening to this. I mean, it's definitely in need of like a UI update, but damn it if it ain't the most like user friendly, like powerful little sign pricing software I've ever seen. Like, it is just brilliant in the way it works, and I will go to my grave like being an Estimate cheerleader because it's a great little app for what it is. It's not if you're looking for like an all inclusive like shop management, like a true ERP, enterprise resource management type program. It's not going to be Estimate, right? Like it's a very specific little thing. But
and maybe that's where we need to go next is kind of qualify this, right? Like some of these all these things have their strengths and weaknesses, but like what you need to clarify for yourself on shop management software, MIS, ERP, whatever you want to call it, is like which of those pieces within that are most important to you. Is it, hey, I need something that will allow us to get estimates out the door quicker. Is pricing like the biggest thing, or is order management, job management kind of the biggest piece, or is it something else like proofing or collaboration? But usually by far like the two biggest buckets that we've seen were pricing and job management.
Yeah. And if a lot of shops, I mean, I've seen a lot of shops that really have like the production management side dialed down, or they're comfortable using paper work orders and dry erase boards, and that's okay if you are. I don't, we're not here to tell you that that's not okay. And a lot of shops just need to solve the pricing problem only, and Estimate's it's a pretty slick little tool for that. But moving up from Estimate into something that's a little more robust would probably be what do you think? Sign Tracker?
I haven't looked at Sign Tracker specifically in the last 6 months. Like usually I try to keep up to speed on all these and keep tabs on everybody and like what progress they're making. I know like Sign Tracker has the estimating, it has like some job management features. I don't know how deep those go. And that's the other reason for this shop management series that we're planning is not just for all the community members to kind of get an unbiased look at all these tools, but also for me to stay up to speed. Things move fast. So
yeah, totally, for sure. Yeah, Sign Tracker is pretty popular. I know it seems like a lot of people use it. It's been a while since I've looked at it as well. I looked at it for running my design business, and it's really geared more towards production oriented places, so it wasn't a good fit for me. but people seem to like it. I can't remember though if it has how much it has in the way of like estimating and stuff built into it versus more just production management. But I know it's not like as fully featured and robust as some of the other true ERP systems out there.
Yeah, and you may not need that depending.
Yeah, it may be perfect for you. I know a lot of guys that are on the smaller side, maybe under 10 employees, that just really need more of a really good way to track jobs through the shop and move away from paper. Seem to really enjoy using Sign Tracker for that. So
yeah. All right, then we've got what, Sirius? Should we like Sirius? That was like one of the first ones that I experimented with back in the day.
Sirius is old school. They've been around for a while,
and they got bought out by Corbridge at one point. I'm not even sure. Are they still selling Sirius? Number one, maybe we should look up that before we start talking about it.
They've moved completely to their cloud-based version. So Sirius for a long time was an MS Access database program that you had to install locally on a server and use. And I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of using it or not, but the original version
we set it up.
It was
Sirius SMS.
Yeah,
SMS or Control.
It did a lot. It was a powerful program, but it was difficult to use. It was clunky because it had to be installed on a server. And
I remember sitting through the demo of. I still remember it to this day, and this has been like 10, 12 years ago. Like sitting through the demo, and I'm like, shit, this does everything we need. Like all our worries are eased at this, and then I spent 2.5 hours the first day trying to get SQL Server set up and running correctly, and then I spent an hour on the phone with tech support. Not knocking the product, but the installation process just totally turned us off of it. And then the usage, my boss and I were into it, but the rest of the team, we failed to get on board with it, or they failed to get on board with it just because of the robustness of it, I guess, and kind of the interface wasn't really helping things either.
Yeah, and I can't speak to the new version, the cloud version they call Control. I believe
it's not actually cloud. The database is in the cloud. The application is still running on your computer. So
is that how it works? Okay.
Yeah. I would put Sirius in the hey, it's an option, but off in the corner.
A lot of shops use it.
Yeah, it's still popular.
Functionality wise, yeah, Sirius definitely, it
church
works.
it up, Mike, so we don't get those cease and desist.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Just shut your mouth for a second, okay? Stop talking, Brian. No, I mean, I used it extensively at one point, and it from a pricing standpoint, it works really well. I mean, it's a little old school in the way the calculator and it works, but you can definitely set it up to run some pretty complex calculations and do some pretty complicated quotes in it. It's just, you're right, it's clunky. It's the user interface is in desperate need of an update. It's a little outdated now. I definitely felt like the production management side of Sirius was on the light side. I don't think it was also very manual, and which I think opens the door for some things to go sideways on you. But I don't, I wouldn't count Sirius out as a contender either. I mean, it just depends on what your needs are.
Yeah. Go back to your needs, not our needs, not what everybody else needs.
Right. And
especially not. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's really important that people understand too that Bryant and I, we eat, breathe, sleep shop management sign software. Like this is and more so for Bryant than me, but for both of us, I mean, this was very much like our entire lives. And so we look at this stuff with a more critical eye than some people do. And we're gonna pick things like the user interface apart and oh man, that button should be over there, and this is the terrible shade of gray and stuff like that. So take our opinions with a grain of salt as well. I think that's really
software
important.
Snobs. Yeah,
we are huge software snobs, and we need to admit that to ourselves and to our audience right now.
Agreed. All right, so I think that brings us into the next batch, and I want to group Square Coil into this one, but I don't know enough about Square Coil. I've seen demos of it when it was vSign. I don't know enough about it. That's one I look forward to learning more about because I saw some people bragging on it, and to be fair, in all of the sign industry Facebook groups, there's people bragging on each one of these solutions that I've seen. But again, you've also got to kind of take that with a grain of salt because yes, it's a sign industry Facebook group, but just because Joe says it's a great software and it changed their shop for the better, doesn't mean it's going to be the right solution for you. So
right.
let that be the overarching theme of this conversation is none of these are perfect. None of them ever will be. Find out which one works well for you. So
Yeah.
moving up into that next tier, we have Shopvox. I'll put Corebridge in the same light.
And I think I'm looking at Square Coil on Raleigh right now. I mean, it looks like they've made some pretty hefty improvements to it since the last time I looked at it. I definitely think that Square Coil is going to be a contender in that realm too, which would be.
I don't know if I see. Yeah, I've got the website up. I don't know if I see anything like sales lead tracking or like opportunities on the front end to manage the sales funnel, but I see purchase orders and inventory and costing and all that stuff. So for the sake of this call, we'll put those all in the same kind of bucket there.
Yeah, I think that's more of like where you start getting into and in the weeds feature set comparison, where one might have more of a front end CRM type functionality, where the other one is heavier on the back end or something. But looks like they have inventory, document storage, which is nice, photo storage. So yeah, I think Square Coil definitely is something that people should take a long hard look at and consider heavily. And then Shopvox and Corebridge.
Corebridge, yeah. So
Corebridge.
Let's start with Corebridge. For the longest time, they were obviously our biggest competitor there at Shopvox. And just so we're clear, these opinions are Mike's and mine alone. We're no longer affiliated with any of these companies.
Absolutely.
But Corebridge, here's what I know about Corebridge. They've got a new version in the works. I don't know if it's released yet or not. I saw a preview of it in Las Vegas back in October. I liked the interface. There was plenty of white space. I don't know why that's a requirement on my shop management software list, but it is.
I think that's an important point, because you mentioned a second ago that you had a heck of a time getting your employees at your shop to buy into Sirius, because like whatever program you choose, it's got to be easy for the users to get in there and do their job in. And if it's so complicated and the screen is so cluttered with crap that your dude running your wide format printer, he can't get in there and see what he needs to do and easily and quickly find the information he needs, then you got a pretty big problem on your hand. And that's something that we saw quite often with Shopbox users as well, is they had a hard time getting employee buy-in on the system because it was, set up too complicated or for whatever reason. But if your staff isn't willing to use the program, if they're just like, if it's a mutiny because it's too complicated for them, then you definitely need to go back to the drawing board for sure. So that, I think, the cleanliness of the user interface, the ease of navigation is a really critical part of the decision-making process in this, because it's got to be user-friendly, not just to the person setting it up, but to the people on the shop floor that are going to use it too.
Yeah,
and actually more so for them. It doesn't really matter how hard it is for you to set it up. But once it's set up, it's set up. It needs to be, top priority needs to be ease of use once it's in action.
I agree. Yeah, I didn't imagine we'd be weaving tips into this as we were going through the list, but yeah, that's like tip number one is like bring your employees into this search process. Like, who are your key employees that are going to be like leading their departments inside this software? Because again, it's a marriage. You're going to be in it for a while until you decide to annul or divorce or just
whatever.
Call the cease and desist letters, send them on. But yeah, involve the key employees in that decision and give them, ultimately, it's your shop. You've got to make that call and they've got to get in line with that. But, involve them in that process and get their feedback throughout the process. Because again, the last thing you want is to invest 3 months of your time, 6 months of your time. We've worked with shops that took 12 months or more to get something like this implemented.
And then they launch it, and then everybody refuses to use it.
Yes. Yeah. That's the last thing that you want. You've been paying monthly or upfront, whatever you pay, $20,000-$30,000, and then you get into the software and nobody wants to use it. So involve those key people in that decision making process on the front end, and that way, even if you don't go with the one that they choose or they thought was the best fit, at least they felt they've had a say in it. And, they've been involved in the process, which, harkening back to that episode with Jeff Sherman, That was like the biggest thing. That was one of the reasons why he left his previous employer was he just felt like he wasn't being listened to anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's really important. Don't just drop this on your employees. Like, hey, surprise! Guess what? That's definitely a way to alienate employees and make them feel not important, not part of the bigger picture. And this is a tool that they're going to have to use. So it is important that they are able to use it and understand it and are comfortable with it. But yeah, I'm looking at some of the screenshots here at Corbridge. It looks like they've made some really nice improvements to this since the last time I saw it as well. It looks like a really nice user interface. Seems like it's got some great reporting.
Did you find the new version?
I don't know if this is the new version or not. I'm just looking on their website. I can't tell if it's been a while since I've looked at Corbridge, at least a year or two. So
I'll make sure we link out to all these in the show notes as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then we got Shopbox. Of course, we got to talk about that one. Shopbox is, as I mentioned earlier, it's been around for a while. It was. I think Sirius was probably the first app like this to hit the market, but not long after Signbox and then Shopbox came out. So Shopbox has had a long history in the industry. It is, Bryant and I, obviously, because we were both employees of Shopbox for a long time, we know it extremely well, better than the other programs. And we can definitely say, I think I think it's a great program. I mean, like anything, it's not without its problems, but it is definitely purpose built for the sign industry. A lot of what you see in Shopbox is 100% user driven as well. So it's a pretty good end to end solution for sure. What are your thoughts on it, Brian?
I'll give it 2 thumbs up, man. I will say, like, I invested a lot of time in Shopbox. Obviously, like, you can't unlearn that type of thing, or like, it is hard for me to detach some of those like personal feelings from some of it. But those things aside, it's a pretty good piece of software. Where they're at now. Let's talk about that. That's probably a little better conversation. Is they've got the Express version, which is mostly for smaller shops. The job management features aren't as robust as the Pro version, but the Express version does have a nice redesign user interface. So if user interface is high on the list for you, the Express version is worth a look. As much as I know right now, the Pro version of Shopbox is still on the older interface. And every time I talk to the team or see email newsletters, the new version of Pro is still in the works. I don't know if they're selling that to customers yet.
I think they're migrating people to the new version now, and I think there are some people that are on it. I think like version 1.0 of the new version is pretty stable and up and running now.
I don't know if you went to their website and said, "Hey, I want Shopbox Pro," which version you're going to get of Pro. Do you know? Is it the new one, or
I think it's all new one now. I think people are getting the new one. I think a lot of like the more like inventory stuff like that. I think some of those features are still being worked on. So some of the features aren't available in new Pro yet, but I believe like the basic core functionality is now on the new UI. That's my understanding, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't work there anymore, so what do I
know? We're both just guessing here, which could be dangerous for the podcast.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like the functionality is the same regardless of what the user interface looks like, and
all the features are the same.
Yeah. Shopbox's pricing engine is really good. It is a learning curve to the pricing engine, and I think that's probably true of all of these. But there's a little bit of a learning curve to getting your products set up and functioning the way you want them. But it is extremely powerful. You can do a lot with it. There are some limitations to it, like there will be with anything. But if you're good at writing like Excel style formulas, you can really open up a whole other world of functionality. And from a pricing side of things, the Shopbox does a pretty good job of tracking production as well. It's a little more automated than some. Take this comment with a grain of salt because it's been a while since I've looked at the others, but I definitely think that Shopbox has a bit of a leg up on the competition from a production tracking standpoint. Just the way their workflows work and everything is pretty slick. For my shop, it was a game changer. It really helped keep everybody on the same page, and that was, the feedback I got from a lot of our users as well. It's not perfect. I mean, there's some scheduling is kind of difficult in Shopbox if you really want to break out and schedule each individual production operation that a job will go through from start to finish.
Definitely.
But I'm hesitant to say that's really Shopbox's fault, and I'm going to blame that just on the industry. Again, as I said earlier, every shop does things a little bit differently. There's not, one industry standard consistent way that every single shop schedules their work or breaks out their work and distributes it out. So
Google
Shopbox has
Calendar. Google
other
Calendar.
than Google Calendar, yeah. So
Or
they've got
Outlook.
to, yeah,
If
right.
if you're using Outlook, just stop the call right now. Like,
Yeah, we don't
just plant that flag.
go away. So again, like there's going to be some give and take with all these apps for sure, and you just have to go into it with realistic expectations of what a piece of software can actually do, and what you still need to do outside of it. Like maybe you do need to schedule on a calendar or something, Google Calendar, instead of using the Shopbox's built-in scheduling functionality. But
yeah, all right, let's go to the final tier, and then I want to back up and do like some. I want to like have you give your advice, and I'll like give a couple of nuggets on choosing and implementing shop management software. But the next tier, what like, and you like building a custom solution, like having a developer build you a custom solution. Maybe you've got an in-house developer that you're thinking of building your own solution. The final word on this is going to be no. Basically, that's the end of story. I will put like an asterisk beside it. The only way that you should consider this is if you are already on one of these programs, like we've just discussed, like Shopbox, Corebridge, Sirius, whatever, and you are hitting the limitations of that, and you have sat down and thought about what functionality you need out of the next system, and you have a detailed list of here's everything that we need. You've thought through all of these things, and you have a budget to back that up. The budget range that you're looking at is going to be $125,000 ish on the low end to $500,000 on the high end, maybe even more. I'd hesitate to put a cap on it because I'm sure somebody like Science 365 or some of these other like large trade printers have built all these systems from scratch, and you've seen how kind of slick their website is. I'm sure their back end is just as impressive. Hey, like if millions and millions of dollars into this.
Yeah, and we've had several Shopbox users that decided they're going to build their own system, and we had several that were trying to build their own system and threw their hands up and said, "Screw this! We're just going to buy something off the shelf."
Come back the other way.
Yeah. It is like those numbers that Brian is throwing out are not an exaggeration. They do not underestimate how complicated that project is. It's not like, hey, I'm going to build a spreadsheet that calculates some prices for me. I mean, there's a lot of functionality there, and it's an enormous project. It's going to take a number of people a lot of time to get done, and it's going to cost you a fortune. Now, if you're a huge shop that's doing 10, 20 plus $1 million a year in sales, or you're Yesco or something like that, where you've got deeper pockets than Walmart, you can justify that cost, and it's probably money well spent for you, because an operation of that size, they need custom software that's dialed in for exactly the way they operate. They, trying to use an off-the-shelf system and adapt to that is really not an option when you're operating at that level. But I mean, let's be honest, probably the president of Yesco is not listening to this podcast and is probably, not looking at Shopbox anyway. Average sign company owner, if you're under 10 million a year in sales, while it may seem like a viable option to you, it's not. And don't, just get it out of your mind right now. Like, it's not going to happen. I've got some firsthand experience with this as well. I know a shop that operates in that $10 million range who has been trying to have a custom system built for them for years and years and years now. And they demoed Shopbox, and they felt like, this is just too cheap for what we need. This can't do what we need because it's not expensive enough. And they've invested well into the six figures on a custom software system that doesn't even come close to the functionality of Shopbox. So, like, tread lightly.
Yeah. And if you do get, like, you talk to a developer and they quote you something stupid like $20,000 to build this,
run like
hell. You better run. Like, you may spec it out for them and they'll tell you $20,000. I promise you, like, if any of the founders of these other companies were on the call with us and they told you how much they've invested in the development of these platforms like Shopbox or Corebridge or sign tracker, what have you, it's going to be way more than $30,000. So if you get a stupid quote like that, run. Yeah. So build your own custom software. No, unless you're over $10 million in annual revenue, and then think about it. That's going to be
even then, I think even then it's a stretch.
Yeah, that's going to be the better sign shop line in the sand there. All right, so kind of pulling around to wrapping this up, Mike. What would be like your top 1, 2, 3 gotchas or tips or advice? Like if somebody is like shopping this arena right now, they're thinking about switching systems or implementing a system where they have none, or they're trying to go from Trello to something else, whatever. Like what's your Hall of Fame advice in this?
Oh, right. Okay. Number one, and we already beat on this a little bit, but be realistic with your expectations and be prepared to compromise a little bit, because we are talking about off-the-shelf software that wasn't built for your shop. So you're going to have to be willing to bend a little bit. You're going to have to be willing to step back and look at your processes and systems and the way you operate and tweak those and adjust them so that they work more in line with whatever program that you choose. That's like a given. That's number one. If you're unwilling to do that, then this whole endeavor is going to be a failure for you. Like, I can tell you that with 100% certainty right now. If you're unwilling to compromise, don't even bother. Just don't waste your time. Don't waste these software companies' time, because it's going to be a bad outcome for everybody involved. That's number one, like 100%. And that was, I think, the biggest battle that at least I faced when I was implementing Shopbox for shops all day, every day, was that owners just they had it in their head that it's got to be this way and this way exactly, and if it doesn't do it that way, then this is a program that's junk and I'm not going to use it. And that's you're just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on there and say accountants as well. Oh, and then I'm just going to get a whole new crew of people hating on this.
You know what? Let's let the accountants send all the hate mail they want, because they need to be kept out of this discussion 100%. Like, guys, look at me. Don't get your accountant involved in this discussion. Don't bring them involved. Don't bring him into this. All of these programs that we're talking about are going to be fine from an accounting standpoint. 100%. Every one of them works fine from an accounting standpoint. If they didn't, they wouldn't be on the market. It might not be exactly the way your accountant likes to do things. A lot of accountants have trust issues with apps that are sending data from the app into QuickBooks or something, and they freak out about it. But if your accountant has that big of a problem with it, hire a new accountant. Like, just full stop. Get them out of there, because they're not doing you any good. They are the biggest nightmare to deal with when it comes to these programs under the sun. I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. I mean, Bryant and I have dealt with this a lot, and your accountant will be your worst enemy and your biggest nightmare of these programs if you let them. But yeah, like, avoid that. So no accountants. Be realistic about it. What? I'm trying to think what else. I mean, to me, that's like the biggest one, is just being realistic about what
I'll go, and then if you think of something else.
Yeah, let me think about some more while you're talking.
Yeah. So, like, number one on my list is going to be 100% complete, not 100% complete, is what I'm going to say. Like, you think, hey, I need to be 100% complete to launch this thing. That's one of the biggest issues that, I was at Shopbox 7 years. Probably one of the top issues that prevented people from going live or getting value out of their software. These things are never going to be 100% complete. Just like we said, there's no perfect system. You can't make a system perfect for you. And it's never going to be, the pricing's never going to be perfect. The scheduling is never going to be perfect. Your own workflow on top of the tool is never going to be perfect. So if you're waiting to launch, if you pick one of these tools, your strategy for implementing this should be, what is the smallest piece that we can complete in 6 weeks? Like, how much can we get set up within 6 weeks? And I would, honestly, if it were me and I was leading the charge, I would want to bring that back inside like 4 weeks. But look at it of like, how much can I get done in 6 weeks? That's what we're going to launch with. And we're going to start using the hell out of it at that point. And we'll fix the rest of it as we go. Because as we said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. And until you're actually using your chosen software, you're not going to know the downfalls or the workarounds or even, just the best way to do something until you're actually neck deep and using it.
Mhm.
It's like you can watch, if we back up to like your domain, Mike, like design work, you can watch all the YouTube tutorials on how to use CorelDRAW or how to design a sign, but until you're actually working on a design and you're neck deep into it, like you're not going to fully understand what's going on. So you don't have to be 100% complete to launch. And I'll like kick that with the pricing side of it. Like if you're waiting until all of your products and pricing are set up, don't pick a few core products, because that is one of the biggest challenges of all these softwares is getting it set up and running. Focus on your core products. Get to just good enough to where you're not losing money. You're still profitable on the pricing, but pick a certain subset of products. Like, hey, tell your team, like, okay, these 5 products are now okay to price inside the software, and then use as much of the rest of it as you can.
Yeah, I think that's good. Kind of do a phased rollout. I would say the majority of the users, at least the Shopbox users that I've worked with over the years, that get it implemented and they get up and running and they're using it for a while. I would say that the vast majority of them eventually over time will come back to the table and say, okay, we've been using this for a while. We figured out what works and what doesn't work well for us. And now we need to kind of go back to the drawing board and sort of start rebuilding what we've already done and fixing a lot of things. And implementing a program like this is going to be, it needs to be looked at as a very long-term project, and it's a living, breathing organism in a way that's always evolving. So it's never, you don't just set it up and you're done and you forget about it. You're always constantly going to be massaging it and fine-tuning it and tweaking it to get it, where you want. You're always introducing new products, and pricing is changing, or you change the way you do something. So it's always going to be, a living project that's never fully done. And yeah, Brian's right. Like if you have that expectation where we're not going to introduce this through the team and we're not going to launch it until, in my mind, it's done, you'll never get it launched. It's true. And we've definitely seen that with a lot of people who just, what was that movie Failure to Launch with like Matthew McConaughey or something?
There you go. Yeah. You're going to be Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Living it.
Wish I could do a Matthew McConaughey voice.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if you thought of one. I got one more.
Lay it on us.
Oh, I thought I did. And let me try to read my notes.
Oh man, one that just popped into my head is looking at the comparing features of these programs too. I mean, it's easy to look at like a feature comparison chart and try and pick the one that has the most features or the best features or whatever. But kind of in the same vein as only rolling it out in phases and picking the most important part. I mean, don't buy based on which has just the most features. Like,
checks the most boxes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because chances are pretty good that even though it has a lot of these features, you might not need them. You might not want them. They might not really be quite in line with the way you want it to work. And also, we've seen this too with a lot of people. Like, okay, there's this feature there. I feel like I'm compelled to use it because it's there and I'm paying for it. So now I've got to use this inventory tracking feature.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Even though I don't need inventory, it's there, so I've got to use it. And well, it doesn't work the way I want it, so this whole program sucks. I'm going to cancel it. Right? That happens a lot too. We've seen that a ton. Don't feel compelled to use every single bell and whistle in these programs just because they're there. If you don't need it, just shut it off, hide it in the background. Don't complicate your employees' days by making them wade through a bunch of features that don't affect them or don't really come into play. It's not necessary. Keep it as simple as you can.
I'm going to give that one like a headline and like say that these programs should be looked at as like accelerant, like yeah, or like a force multiplier or something. Like if your process, yes, they'll give you some structure and process, and that's part of what Mike said, where you have to be willing to kind of bend your systems a little bit to the tool that you select. But like these guys aren't going to give you a business in a box. That's like one of the other caveats is like you can't buy one of these expecting it to run your shop for you. And if you've got a failure or a big problem in your team or within your like informal like soft systems, like working with teammates or like, hey, this information is not getting communicated, Shopbox or CoreBridge or any of these other tools, they're not going to fix that. And in fact, like they're going to magnify that problem.
They're going to shine a light on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be a frustrating endeavor for everybody.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Is I think a lot of people go into this with the expectation that it is going to make fundamental foundational changes to their business. And it's definitely not going to do that. It still requires you to know how to run a business, and it requires you to be, active participant in that.
Yeah, it's just a tool. It's not anything more.
Exactly.
It's not a business in a box. Like you can't sign up for one of these thinking they're going to have pricing worked out for you. They may have like some kind of starter database, which we may or may not have had a hand in years ago. But it's not going to be ready to go out of the box, and it's not going to run your business for you. The other one that I had, and I couldn't read my handwriting, that's how bad it is. When you're in conversations and you're talking to your sales reps, or even if you're on one of these softwares already, you're going to be privy to like, hey, this update is coming soon, or you're going to be, you may hear some things about the roadmap. We're working on this feature, or this feature is coming. Take all those conversations that you hear, unless you see proof, treat it like it doesn't exist. Just put it out of the back of your mind, because, and I will say it's kind of a mix. Like there may be some fault of the company here, but it's also software development, and being knee deep in that environment and working at other companies. Software development is not like building a sign where there's like a linear process. What may look like a simple feature on the surface, once you actually get into it, and the architecture of the software is going to matter there as well. Like the choices that were made years ago when they were building the software affect the features that they're working on now. So if somebody says, hey, we're going to have this in 6 weeks, and that is not like ironclad. If somebody tells you that on a call or an email, it's conjecture. It's a guess. Just do not tell your team. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Don't put any stock in it, and don't base any of your decisions on it. Likewise, if you're shopping now for shop management software and you're talking with a rep and they say, oh, hey, we're going to have this feature. You ask about a feature. They say, hey, we're working on it now. It's in beta or whatever. Just put it out of the back of your mind. That's not a checkbox. It may be in 6 months. It could be 18 months. You never know.
Yeah. When I entered that world of software development, working for Shopbox, that was an interesting lesson I learned as well, because I'm so used to the sign industry where everything is rush. Everything has a deadline. Everything is right now. Even for the biggest, most long-term sign projects, I mean, they still have a deadline that gets done. And like you said, it's a linear process that's fairly predictable. And that's software development is just a whole other ballgame. And it is a glacially slow process, especially when you're talking about apps that are as complex and big as the ones that we are. I mean, these are not simple things. And every, like Brian said, every feature, every little tweak that they make to it has far-reaching implications on the back end of that software that as a user you don't see, but they take, a monumental amount of time to work out, multiplied by however many changes and features and updates that are trying to be made at one time. And yeah, I mean, it's a recipe for it's a slow process. I'm fairly certain, what I started at Shopbox, 7 years ago now, 6 years ago, something like that. I'm fairly certain there's still some open tickets from my first week on the job that are still, under development. So, and that's we're not pointing the finger at the software company by saying that. It's just the nature of the
beast. Yeah. And, knowing that, cut them some slack on the other side as well.
Yeah, totally.
Like this is, there's not a blueprint for what they're building. Like it's not like, hey, Mike has gone through and exquisitely designed, here's where all the nuts and bolts need to go. It's more akin to like building the airplane as you're in the air.
As you're flying it. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's the best analogy I think you're going to find for software development is building the airplane while you're flying it.
All right, I got one more exclamation point, and then we'll mic drop this one. If you're the owner of the shop, and probably maybe 80-90% of the people listening probably are. If you're the owner, this process is going to take a ton of your time, and you have to prepare yourself accordingly. This is not a project, and I will say this there are some conditions to this. Maybe you're not involved in the day-to-day anymore, then maybe you could kind of take a back seat in this process. But if you are the owner and you are directly involved in the day-to-day operations of your business, this project, implementing shop management software, is going to take a large investment of your time. It is not something that you can hand off to a junior level team member or somebody new to the industry and expect good results. I stare directly into the camera as I say these things for that reason. You cannot hand this off to somebody that you hired 6 months ago and expect a good result.
Thank you for saying that. I can't believe I forgot that one. That is an excellent point. Quick anecdote: I had a fairly large sign company when I was with Shopbox. They were up in the $2, $3, $4 million range. Signed up for Shopbox, and the owner of the company put his 14-year-old daughter, who had never worked in the sign industry. She came in to hang out with daddy at work, and that was about it. He put her in charge of it because she's good with computers. And I mean, you can guess where that landed. I mean,
Yeah, his
they
daughter
never
probably
implemented
quit.
Yeah, and I had
daughter, probably.
Yes.
I have seen this ruin employees' lives. Okay, and like
Oh yeah.
I've heard these stories like firsthand, secondhand. These systems, again, like they're a multiplier. Like if you get this implemented and running inside your business, it's going to like change your business 100%. But if you don't do it the right way, or you handle everything poorly, it's going to ruin lives. Like you might lose employees over it, which I've seen happen time and time again, because like as the owner, and especially like a lot of the guys that we talk to are not just new to the industry, like they're 10, 20 years into it, on a similar playing field as us. So if you've got 10 years of industry knowledge and you're trying to hand this off to somebody, but you don't make the time, like daily, you need to make 2 or 3 hours a day, or have a whole dedicated day on your calendar to sit down with whoever's implementing this, whether that's yourself or another team member, and you need to go through all these things like, hey, how do I price? Because there's a lot of that firsthand knowledge that like just doesn't make its way to your team, and you
Well,
just
these programs, they touch every corner of your business. I mean, they are very, very deep and broad in what they do. And the only person at your sign company that really knows, has that deep understanding of how your business operates and how it needs to interface with these programs is you as the owner. You're the only one that does. And it's extremely unrealistic to think that you can hand any of that off to employee. I mean, I'm not even a fan of the owner working with a lower level employee on it. I really, I mean, in rare cases it works, but in most cases it doesn't, because there's still going to be that knowledge gap between the owner and that person. And no matter how much time you dedicate to it, you still can't fully brain dump on that person everything that they need to know. I mean, like Brian said, we've seen it happen many, many, many times, and it'll tank the implementation. And it's just, I mean, to be frank, I mean, it's just dumb and poor business to think that you can hand off something that's that critical to somebody who's not that critical, of an employee. I mean, there's no other word for it. And that's just stupid. And we've seen it happen so many times. And yeah, Brian's right. Like we've seen a lot of employees just throw up their hands and quit. We've seen a lot of failed implementations. We've seen things go sideways pretty badly because owners just don't understand that. But this is 100%. The owner has to be heavily, heavily, heavily involved in this process. And if you, as the owner, are not able or willing to be involved in that process, then just stop now. Don't even bother going any further with looking for these programs, because you're going to fail at it. It's just, I mean, that's harsh and blunt, but that's the truth of it. Is like, as an owner, like you have to. If you don't, just don't even bother. It's just not worth anybody's time, and you're wasting everybody's time by trying.
Yeah, even hiring a consultant is going to not help you unless you're involved. It's just not.
Yeah, we've worked with a lot of consultants too who may know the sign industry really well, but like I said, every shop does things a little bit differently. So just because that sign consultant or that industry consultant understands the industry, they don't understand your business the way you do. They may be able to push buttons and make the software work, but it's probably not going to be the way you need it to work for you. And And if you're not involved in that process, you're just throwing money down the toilet. Don't do that. Don't be that person.
Yeah. Cool. Well, man, this is a good episode to shake the cobwebs. It's been
almost like a topic that's near and dear to us, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like 4 or 6 weeks, or probably right before the holidays since we've recorded an episode. So, I was a little nervous coming into this one, but I think this was a good conversation, and I hope it's helpful to a lot of folks out there that are looking at shop management software this time of year. It's a hugely important piece of your business. Treat it with that respect. Give it the time and attention it deserves, and it won't kick you to the curb or take your house and your dog and your car and all those things.
Hey, I got a terrible dad joke for you to end the show.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm game for dad jokes.
What do you get if you play a country music song backwards?
Oh, I know this one. I've already heard this.
Your wife back, and your dog back, and your house back, and your car back.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to do it.
Yeah. No, I like that one.
I love a good dad joke.
I think I've got a whole book downstairs that somebody got me for Christmas.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, glad to be back. I hate that we didn't have Peter for this one. I know he's got a ton of thoughts on it, but good episode. If you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, look, we want to talk to you. We enjoy interviewing other guests just as much as we like talking about ourselves. So send us an email at hey@bettersignshop. Or if you maybe you know somebody that you think would be a good interview for the podcast, email us about them. We'll reach out to them. We'll do all the hard work there, pester them into joining the show. If you are a shop owner, make sure you jump in and join our Facebook group, the Better Sign Shop community. It is exclusively for owners and management. It's a safe space where you can talk about some of these things that we talk about on the podcast: marketing, employees, management, pricing. I know that's not allowed on a lot of other groups. We allow it in ours because it's an important piece of your business. So jump in, say hello. We've got a lot of great community members there who are on the same journey as you are. Anything else? I think we're good.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Getting better at that outro thing. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll catch you on the next one. I'll see you, Mike.
Bye, guys.
If you liked this episode, make sure you hit subscribe to get all the latest episodes. And check out our website, bettersignshop.com. Get free resources and helpful tools on growing your shop. Thanks for listening.